a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Ahoy and hello, students and scholars, friends and relations. Welcome to the Brothers Grimm podcast, a podcast in which we gander, I say, the primary work of the Brothers Grimm, a collection of fairy tales collected in the early 1800s in Germany, called Grimm's Fairy Tales, including this week's tale, story number 69, nice, Jorinda and Joringel. My name is Phil.
Yeah, my name is Mike.
Mike, I have two questions for you.
Ooh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, number one, how are you now?
I'm excited we're taking the kids to Vegas tomorrow, but I'm guessing this is not what your question is.
No, it's not what my question is, but that's great. Why you're taking the children to Las Vegas, the city of sin.
Elliot's a circus arts kid, has done circus camp last year. And we were like, we should get tickets for a circ show for Elliot's birthday. That would be really cool.
Okay.
Of course, there's no circ shows, even remotely locally. So we're like, all right, fuck it. Let's go to Vegas for a weekend.
That's fun.
So
more importantly,
yes.
Did you like the birthday present that I bought for you?
I friggin' loved it. I was gonna raise it, when we talked for the listeners at home. So we recently did The Hare's Bride, in which Rabbit, who entreats a young girl to hop on, sit on his tail and hop away into his hare's hut. And I'd come across this artwork by a woman named Ellen Cornett, and it is weird and wonderful. And it's a grown man on all fours in like a 3-piece without the coat, with a full-on like realistic rabbit head. And the girl is sort of like draped over his back, looking kind of like dreamy, half asleep kind of thing. And there's like a representation of the straw doll. But it was amazing. I had mentioned it on the show, dropped a link in the write-up on the website. About 2 weeks later, I get mail from Ellen Cornett. And it is a goddamn beautiful print of this piece with love from Phil. It was amazing. I loved it.
I found that painting on her website. I saw that she sold prints. And I was like, oh, neat. Okay. Wrote her an email through her website saying, I said, do you have a print of The Hare's Bride for sale or ... I don't know how it works with prints and if it's easy to print them or whatever. That's all. She wrote back to me. She said, hi, Philippe. Forgive my caution, but there's a million scammers out there trying to fleece unsuspecting artists. Can you tell me how you found my website and what your interest in that piece might be?
It's like a CAPTCHA.
I said, hi, Ellen. May I call you Ellen? My friend Mike and I have a podcast about the Brothers Grimm called The Brothers Dim. And this week we talked about The Hare's Bride. Anytime we do these, we research the story. So Mike found your picture and he thought it was weird and cool. And so we mentioned it. And now you're in the podcast. And then we linked the picture. And I ended with I'm like, that's pretty much the whole story. If you have this print for sale, I would like to buy it. And then she wrote back. She said, oh, the podcast's very funny. Send you that. Anyways, but I bought you the painting.
Very, very much appreciated. It made my day when I was like, because I saw the name on the pack. I was like, this name is familiar, but I didn't order anything. I don't understand. And then I opened it and I was like, oh my, like it all just clicked.
I'm delighted that you like it. In any case, Mike, without further ado, I would love to take us through the plot of Grimm story number 69.
Nice.
Jorinda and Joringel. Nice. Once upon a time, there was a witch who lived alone in a castle in the woods. And anytime a dude would come along, she would freeze him in place for a little bit until she let him go and said, don't come back. But if a maiden should come along, she would turn that girl into a bird, and quite a collection of birds she had, numbering about 7,000 birds / girls that had wandered into the forest, which
it's a lot of girls.
A lot of girls that have gone missing. At some point, a pretty young thing named Jorinda and her beau, Joringel, wandering through the woods. Now, they know about the witch, and they know what she does. And that's not surprising because 7,000 women have gone missing. And presumably, figure 7,000 dudes have been caught by her, frozen in place, and then sent back home.
There's nothing we can do about this.
I don't know what happened. What happened to Kirsten? We went into the woods, and a witch turned her into a bird, and then froze me in place and told me to get out of here. Oh, okay.
Wasn't she always kind of a bitch? No.
But they know about the witch. They know what she does. But they get lost anyways. They find themselves in the usual spot for this witch. So she
You'd
does
think
her
people would
thing.
just stop going into the woods.
There's nowhere else to make out,
That's true.
The witch does her thing. Jorinda is now a nightingale who goes jug, jug, jug. That's the sound. He gets frozen until she sets him free and kicks him to the curb. Next day, he starts looking for the witch, and Jorinda cannot find them, so he gives up, goes and keeps sheep for a few years. One night, he has a dream, though, where he finds a blood red flower with a pearl inside. And this flower pearl arrangement can break the bird spell in his dream. So he goes looking for it in real life, and he finds it, and then he goes back to the woods, and he goes to the witch's house, and the witch is, says like, I shall cast a spell on you, but is unable to because he is holding the flower. She's real mad at him, but she can't get near him, and then Joringel just goes and bops her on the head with the flower. She loses all her powers. Jorinda turns back into the hot girl that he remembered from years ago. The end.
Nice.
Before we get to the grade, I would like to say, do you remember the 12 Hunters?
I do.
And I gave that story an A because I said there were no loose ends. And then you said you thought there were 11 loose ends.
Yep.
This story has what I feel are 6,999 loose ends because we do not know at all what happens to those other birds.
I saw a version that said that Jorinda and Joringel go and get married and have 7,000 bridesmaids. There's
funny.
nothing after that.
Well, that would work though. At least you mentioned it. Like you freed him. Did you have a grade for this one?
I give this one an A-.
I'm right there with you. I thought high B, low A.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot under the surface. There's layers on this one. It was interesting.
The only reason I dinged it a couple of points was they need some time to go by or something like that. Like he just goes and keeps sheep for a little while.
Yeah, that was. I would have liked another paragraph of like high adventure, like the two brothers. With
you're right.
menagerie, like he goes and he kills the dragon and falls asleep and gets beheaded and all this stuff. It's like a grand high adventure.
I wouldn't even have minded if it was just he needed a job, so he kept sheep, but he on weekends, on the Sabbath, on the day of our Lord, he would go into the woods to try and find the witch's house, or had done so a couple of times maybe, and she
keeps getting frozen and sent away.
Yeah, but other than that one little piece,
yeah,
and the story was kind of fun. Just like a couple of people in the woods.
Yeah,
you got a witch, you got a castle, you got a magic spell, girls turning into birds, magic flowers. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a lot going on. Do you have a moral? Because I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I struggled with this one. I struggle with morals, but I don't struggle figuring out what the moral of a story is. This one, at best, trust your dreams.
Yeah.
And that's me reaching. There's not a lot of good in this. Everyone in this story seems greedy, maybe except for Jorinda. I got Jorinda.
So in my head, I've always said Jorinda and Joringel.
Okay, no,
but yeah,
sure
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think it's also anglicized as Jorinda and Joringel.
Fair enough. Everyone's just kind of greedy in this one, including the protagonists a little bit. We don't know much about Jorinda, but the witch wants 7,000 birds. He wants this one woman and no one else, and spent a long time just pining.
Can't just give up on her.
Sort
it's
of
been done 7,000 times before.
That's a small town. Maybe there's no one left. He's like, yeah, I think the dream thing is the only one that I can stick with because there is no moral of this one. It's
how about for a moral? If you live in a town and you know there's a witch in the woods that turns every young girl into a bird, just don't go in the woods. Find somewhere else to go fuck.
Or wait till marriage, I guess.
Because we know that's why they were in the woods. Yeah, it's like they wanted some quiet. They wanted to go for a quiet walk.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Although there's this weird part where they're in the woods walking, then all of a sudden they're both sorrowful and she's crying. And it doesn't make any sense. There's no context. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I could think of was maybe that was part of the witch's spell. Again, I'm writing things, right?
So it was they talk about they go in the woods. Joringel says, "Take care that you don't go too near the castle." So it was a beautiful evening. The sun shone brightly between the trunks of the trees into the dark green of the forest, and the turtle doves sang mournfully upon the young boughs of the birch trees. Just nice little setting, right? And then just next paragraph, Jorinda wept now and then. She sat down in the sunshine and was sorrowful. Joringel was sorrowful too. They were as sad as if they were about to die. Then they looked around them and were quite at a loss, for they did not know by which way they should go home. So it's like they were sad, and then they realized they were lost. But maybe it's part of the witches thing. Maybe
Maybe
you're
it's
right.
part of the witch's spell. Maybe it's something way deeper. Maybe this witch is, maybe she's a brick and I'm drowning slowly. Maybe the witch performs abortions. So they've been going into the forest. They know that they can't have the kid yet, so they want to go to the old hedge witch or whatever, someone that's very good at herbology, find her in the forest, and they're sorrowful, like so much Ben Folds 5 in the song Brick, which is famously about an abortion.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I can't imagine that that's necessarily the case.
I do wonder if the witch represents lust, premarital consummation, or something like that.
Could represent a parent that doesn't want those two to be together.
The forced separation.
You're not going to marry that girl. She's not royalty. So we're shipping her off to a fucking nunnery, right? To a convent.
Yeah. She's gonna go be a bird, quote unquote.
She's going to go, yeah, she's going to go with 7,000 other women, and you're not allowed to touch her. And if you try to get anywhere near her, we're going to, we have some people that are gonna keep you away. And
It's covered with
there's this
briars.
one main nun that's out there that's just like, you ain't getting into this convent. Or, college, all girls school.
Yeah.
What was that song? Dirty Water by the Standells. Do you know that one?
I do.
Yeah.
I've been to a Red Sox game before. I was under the impression it's about the Charles River, and that's all I know.
Well, here's the lyrics. Down by the river, by the banks of the river Charles. Okay. That's where you'll find me, along with lovers, muggers, and thieves. But they're cool people. And, love that dirty water. And then he starts going, frustrated women have to be in by 12 o'clock. But I'm wishing and a hoping that just once those doors weren't locked. And I assume that's Radcliffe he's talking about. Though it appears you are Googling something.
Oh, it's according to this, it's BU. I never caught that line.
I always loved that line. Straight up, this dude is just like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with all these like dirt bags down by the River Charles, and we're going to BU, and all these guys don't have access to the girls after 12 o'clock. But oh boy, would I love it if I did. Maybe that's the moral. So that's your moral. If the women's curfew is hard to get around. ATU type 405, Jorinda and Joringel, does have some sub-motifs: transformation by a witch and disenchantment with a magical object. We've seen that a lot of times before.
Yep. I hit you with my flower.
I saw this has been made into a cartoon a bunch of times.
I did see that, yeah.
Including as one of the 41 stories made for Guremu Meisaku Gekijo.
Japanese, I'm assuming?
Yep. It's a really bizarre Japanese animated thing for Grimm's fairy tales. That's what the Guremu.
Oh, I got to get a hold of this.
Oh, it's really good.
We should have have you seen it?
I remember it it was on Nickelodeon.
Oh, damn.
And I remember it because the opening intro, it had this bizarre opening, and it was Little Red Riding Hood or something, but she could fly.
For some reason I'm picturing like Aeon Flux.
Oh my god, no, it's like it's the grandmother of Aeon Flux, I'm sure. It came out in America as Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics. Maybe it's on DVD somewhere and I can find it, because I remember really liking it as a kid.
I don't think I remember any 80s Nickelodeon except for You Can't Do That on Television and Double Dare.
There was a couple other things I remember that I really liked on Nickelodeon when I was young. One was Spartacus and the Sun Beneath the Sea. And another one was The Cities of Gold. And they were both just weird ass fucking cartoons that were...
Neither of these rings a bell.
Oh my god, they were fantastic. I digress. Grimm's Fairy Tale Classics, but of course with their own weird little Japan twist. So Jorinda gets turned into the bird, that's fine. Joringel gets chased for a bit by monsters and then gets eaten by a tree monster.
Ooh, nice.
And wakes up in the company of a different girl, all Back to the Future style. So she falls in love with him, and then he falls for her, but feels bad. And then then they're out picking strawberries. He kisses her, and then he feels bad, and he dips, goes back to the woods, and he finds the flower. He's been having dreams where the bird is singing, "You can take the witch's power if you have the magic flower." And so he finds the flower and then frees all of the maidens, including her. There's also a neat one I liked. It was Dutch, where the genders were swapped. The girl has to free her brother from a witch and then goes on a side quest. This is what your grand adventure, right? She goes on a side quest, and with the help of a bunch of dwarfs, goes on an adventure to kill a dragon to get a magical object.
I came across this one, yeah.
And so come on, Tolkien. What are we doing here? I feel that maybe you got your idea for the Hobbit from that,
Could be.
and then of course the Lord of the Rings from the Ring Cycle. That's
There
all
was-
that I have.
There was one part that caught me. So the witch says something when she freezes Joringel and then takes
Okay.
off with Bird Jorinda. She spoke to somebody named Zachiel. If the moon shines on the cage, then set him free or something like that. And then she just takes off. So I went looking it up. Zachiel is an archangel from Christian mythology.
Okay.
And he is the angel of mercy and forgiveness,
Okay.
which kind of ties into the idea of like, she's not here for the boys. Here's your you've learned your lesson. Here's you are forgiven. Leave.
Get out of here. I'll give this girl her abortifacient. But she's gonna have to be a nun from here on out because like everyone thinks that she's been ruined.
Yeah, you know, the more we talk about that, the more it smells right.
I feel I'm putting a lot on that I may not be there, but we never know. Certainly we can we can posit.
I do have a pitch.
By all means, the floor is yours.
Sweet. So actually, I have a smaller idea, and then I have a bigger one that I fleshed out a bit. And
Okay.
I will say at the top, both of these are from Mel, my oldest, just turned 15. We spend like 2 hours in the car every Thursday, so we end up talking about like Yellow Jackets and all sorts of stuff. And I was tossing around ideas for this. I sort of gave the Cliff Notes version of the story. So one of Mel's ideas was, so when Joringel went to rescue, he gets in there and there's like 7,000 cages with birds in them. He doesn't know which one is which. The witch sees him and is very mad. He's trying to figure out which one is which, and he notices that she's trying to nip off with one specific cage. And he's like, oh, that must be her. And that's how he figures it out. Mel's idea was, what if the witch just grabbed a random cage, and when Joringel frees the girl, he realizes it's not his beloved Jorinda, but he only had one shot at it. That was the only one he could do.
Yeah. The flower only has a little bit of magic.
So now he has to pass her off as Jorinda, gaslight her family into it. Like, what do you mean? She's always had brown hair.
Well, now why can't? I mean, who's this girl though? Like, right?
I don't know.
But is the witch dead in Mel's story?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, but
But
that's
like,
just-
so yeah, we were spinning some sort of like identity comedy, like Parent Trap or Freaky Friday, where it's a comedy of like trying to gaslight a family into thinking it's their daughter.
I guess
It
if
didn't go too far with it.
maybe her, because I'm just wondering, like, how are you convincing her to go along with this?
Yeah,
Maybe-
we didn't really think through that one.
Is
Maybe-
her
maybe-
family? Her family's been dead for a while. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh wait. So this the Jorinda girl, she's rich, you say? Oh,
Or maybe they'll
Oh.
have amnesia when they come out. I don't know.
what jokes and japes shall we play here? You know,
You could just stay here for the 7,000 girls.
this is better than living in that bird cage. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Better than spending time at the nunnery.
Anyway, the
or
other
Boston
idea.
University. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, the other
The
story.
other idea that Mel had was Joringel doesn't dream about the flower and everything, but he does go back and confronts the witch. And, like she was sort of mumbling to herself the night before, but he gets her in daylight and, they talk and she lives there. She doesn't know why girls turn into birds. She's not doing it. It's some sort of curse on the castle or something. There's a hawk that circles the castle and will go after any small bird that shows up. So she's there. She grabs those birds to rescue them before they get snatched up, puts them in cages to keep them safe while she's trying to figure out how to lift this curse or whatever it is that's going on. That's why she froze Joringel and let him go. So now it's up to
Yeah.
Joringel to sort of help her
Break
track
the
down the
curse.
mystery of the curse.
Okay.
So then I started spinning it. Once upon a time, long ago, this castle is thriving and it's lively. There's a young gamekeeper who loved the princess of the castle. He was destined not to be with her. She knew this, however, different stations. And she taunted him mercilessly. She was cruel, and worst of all, she was a sorceress like her mother. Her mother, who is married into the royal family a suspiciously short time before the good king died in his sleep.
Sure.
So the princess mocks the young huntsman whenever she passes through the courtyard. He, in turn, takes solace in his animals, particularly the beautiful birds of prey that he raises. Over time, though, he withdraws more and more, grows more dark and vengeful. There's one particular occasion. The princess is processing through the courtyard with her entourage. She stops to mock him. Everybody's laughing. He can't take it anymore. He snaps, madness coursing through him. He shoots her with a crossbow right in the heart.
Oh boy.
As powerful as her magic is, she can't stop the lifeblood from draining from her. With her last gasp, she curses the boy to be forever loveless. He's to join his beloved animals, turns him into a hawk, mindless and driven by fury. He now hunts the castle grounds, watching as the princess's curse transforms into easy prey any maiden who ventures too near, lest they break his curse.
Okay. How can they? Okay, we're getting into how they can break his curse, or
No, that's sort of where I left off.
okay.
I could continue it at some point, but sort of like that's the backstory that they somehow figure out. The boy Joringel and the witch figure this out.
Revenge against an incel that took revenge for some imagined slight, or just this girl not being interested. I mean, you can't. That does lets you have a big bit of grand adventure too, to go find 3 objects, right?
Yeah.
That are gonna break this curse. You could do a pretty good sort of mystery detective story.
Yeah, and I'm thinking sort of like the kind of video game like a Resident Evil kind of thing where you're going through a lab and half the time like you're fighting off monsters, but you're also picking up data pads with notes and things and sort of piecing together the story of what happened.
Yeah, like I'm doing a detective thing. I'm piecing together what actually happened, and then what are the things that could possibly break this based on the princess's diary
Yeah,
that you find, the books that the notes that she left behind, and then whatever this new hedge with the bird taker carer has found. That's really cool.
yeah. I'm thinking like after this happened, everything goes into chaos. Everybody dies or flees or something, so that basically it falls into ruin, and it's just this cursed hawk. And like the curse could be broken by the touch of a maiden, but no maiden can get close enough. And anytime one does, she turns into a bird, and then he just kills and eats the bird.
If she's out, yeah, and she's not saved yet.
Yeah,
It's a germ of an idea, but there's something there that is really good.
yeah, definitely something we could spin further.
Yeah. If we weren't spending all of our free time coming up with pitches for the next story. Well, very good. I do not have anything else. And if you do not have anything else, I think we can call it.
I do not.
Okay. Mike, are there places where people could find us if they were looking for us?
There are. You can always find us in all of our episodes at brothersdim.com. And we're also on Blue Sky at brothersdim. Reach out to us.
Please do. And thank you, Mike. We'd love to remind you to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. If you like listening to all of this very silly business, please share and enjoy the Brothers Dim with all of your friends and to all of our friends and relations. Thank you for listening. Sleep tight, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. And thank you once again, Ellen Cornett, for that gorgeous print. Go check out her work.
Please do.